you have demand schedule here. So you have at the price of 5 for ice cream. First, every time you're trying to use demand curve, you put also the name of the product to say that we are in the cereal market. And then we have demand schedule. So at the price of 5, the quantity demanded is 10. You cannot say, you will make this mistake over and over. You cannot say the price is 5, demand is 10. No, so it's wrong. When we have the definition of quantity demanded is at how much people are willing and able to buy at specific price. You have specific price, you have quantity demanded. The whole thing is a function which is demand. The whole graph is demand, the relationship. So we have the price 5, the quantity is 10. The price of 4, you have 20. Price of 3 is 30. And the price of 2 is 50, and the price of 1 is 80. And you link the graphs, the points gives us demand curve. So just remember, there is a difference between demand versus quantity demanded. Big D, when you put D like this, you are talking about the demand function. When you do QD, you're talking about quantity demanded. Quantity demanded is how much people are willing and able to buy at specific price. So if I have specific price, I'm going to say the quantity demanded is 10. At the price of 4, the quantity demanded is 20. The relationship between the price and quantity, we call it the demand function, and we have a demand schedule, and we have demand graph. Now, so first we have the market. What is a market for something? I'm just going to see how many people I have in the market, add them together. So we have individual demand. I can have Billy, Jean, and other people. Let's take at the price of 5, you have Billy is willing to buy 1. At the price of 5, Jean is buying 0. At the other people at the price of 5, it's 9. So if I want to, this is each market. If I want to add them together, I just say at 5, I will do 1 plus 0 plus less 10. So the total market demand is the sum of individuals demand. So if I have, for example, there is a company that has a market in Boston, New York, New Jersey, or like California, for example, LA. So each market has demand for itself. But if I want to know the market demand for the company, means I will add all of them. So like a little bit math. If you want to put it in the symbols, I don't want you to give it. So the demand for the market equals the sum of all the individual market. Depends. So for example, I have a company, the demand market for a company is the demand in Boston plus the demand in New York plus the demand in LA. If I have individuals, stores, for example, store 1, store 2, like the reason they divide the market like that, I want to study the market by itself. The consumers in Boston are not the same as the consumers in New York. I want to know what triggers these people, so I can target these people in different ways, That's why you break it. But at the end, what matters is your total market demand, how much you are selling. That makes the whole company's demand. So now, remember, what is changing? This is where you will see a huge difference. Changing quantity demanded is caused by change in the price. Everything else equal. So when the price was $5, people were buying 10. When the price is 4, 20. The reason I increased this, how much people are buying from 10 to 20 is because the price went down from 5 to 4. So changing quantity demanded, this is just delta means change. That's all it means, instead of writing the word change. So changing is caused by a change in the price. So every time I change the price, everything else equal, I will change the quantity demand. Okay. So remember, we cannot say, this is where things get confusing. You cannot say changing the price will change demand. No. You will see what is the difference between the two in few seconds. So the law of demand, there is a negative relationship between the price and quantity demanded. It means if the price goes up, how much people are buying goes down. If the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. That's called the law of demand. So the law of demand means there is a negative relationship between the price and quantity demanded. It means also means if the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. If the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. Okay. Also, this means it's called downward slope. Means if you look at the graph for the demand, it's like this. If I calculate the slope for this, the slope of this line, it's a negative. It's the same thing. When we say the demand curve is downward slope, means it's negative. That's the same thing as saying the law of demand means you are moving up and down. So let's talk about this for a second. Also, I want you to be sure you understand what I'm saying. So the law of demand says, okay, there are different ways you can say this. You have the price, you have the quantity. Okay, this is the demand curve. So we have point A. This is a price. Let's say 5, 20. This is point A. If the price goes down to 4, 60. If the price goes to 6, we have 10. I'm just making numbers. So we have B, C. The law of demand says first, there is a negative relationship between the price and quantity. Means if the price goes up, see, from 5 to 6, the quantity goes in the opposite direction, from 20 to 10. So the price went up from 5 to 6, the quantity went down from 20 to 10. If the price goes down from 5 to 4, okay, the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. Also, we can say the graph has negative slope. If I calculate the slope for this, it will be negative. Also, we say it's a movement along the demand curve. Means we are, when we change the price, we have a movement along the demand curve. Means I'm going up and down of the curve. I'm not going to the left, to the right, or to the left. I'm just staying in the same curve. When I change the price from 5 to 6, I moved from A to C. I go up the curve. And when I decrease the price from 5 to 4, I'm moving downward to the point B. But I didn't move, I didn't leave the curve. I stayed in the same line. So changing in the price will cause a movement along the demand curve. It does not cause you to move to the left, to the right, or to the left. Every time you change the price, you are moving along the demand curve. You have to be careful. It's the same. So when I say movement, the price, this is A, B, and C. When I say change in the price will cause a movement along demand curve. What does that mean? I'm going to stay on the curve. There is other things. If we do something else, we'll see. We have to move the whole thing either to the left or to the right. In this case, when you change the price, you have to stay in the same line. That's what is changing quantity demanded. Changing quantity demanded is movement along the demand curve. It's caused by change in the price. Okay, we'll do that. So changing quantity demanded is caused by change in the price. Okay, so when we're talking about the price, you cannot say changing the price will change the demand. That's not correct. I want you to remember this. When you're talking about okay, so remember, anytime we change the price, we have a change in quantity demanded and not demand. It's wrong to say change in the price causes the change in demand. No, because change in price only moves the demand curve up and down. But change in demand is you have to move the whole graph. When I say change in demand, it means I'm moving the whole things either to the right or to the left. Okay, so go back here so I can show you the difference. Now, if you're talking about change in demand, you are moving the whole graph. So this is the difference. If I change the price, I'm moving up and down. Movement along the demand curve. I'm not going to leave. That's called change in quantity demanded. The change in demand is what I have to do. I have D1. I'm going to move it to D2. That's change in demand. This is change in demand. And this is change in quantity demanded. When I say change in demand, I have to take the whole line, move it to the right or to the left. What causes this is only change in the price. This, what causes this change? Anything but the price. Anything that you can think about could move the demand curve to the right or to the left. But if I talk about the price, I'm not going to move this line. I'm just going up and down. So that's very important. So look at this. So now I started with the first line, which is, let's call it D1 here. Okay. So at the 5, we have 10. At 4, we have 20. At 3, you have 50. At 2, you have 50. And 1 is 80. Something happened. We don't know. We'll talk about what causes that. We just now first understand what is the change first. Something changed, not the price. Look, people at the price of 5, they used to buy 10. Now they are buying 30. Why people are now buying, instead of 10, they're buying 30? Something else happened because the price stayed the same. Nothing changed in the price. So moving from 10 to 30 is not caused by the price. It's caused by something else. That's why we move this way. Now at the price of 4, we used to buy 20. Now we are buying 40. You see, we moved this way. The price stayed the same, but the quantity increased. At the price of 3, the price was 30, now it's 50. So you used to buy at the price of 3, we used to buy 30. Now something happened. It's not the price because the price stayed the same here. We didn't change the price and we increased the quantity from 30 to 40. Okay, so at the price of 2, people used to buy 50. Now the price stayed the same. We didn't change the price, but you can see how we moved to the right, and then people are buying 70. At the price of 1, people used to buy 80. Now they are buying 100. So this is called change in demand. We moved everything to the right. At every price, change in demand means at every price, people are buying different quantity, either less or more. In this case, they are buying more. We call it increase of demand because they are buying more at every price. So increase of demand means that people are buying more at the same price. So at the price of 5, they used to buy 10. Now they are buying 30. At every price, we buy more. So when we say shift to the right, we shift the demand to the right is the same thing as saying increase of demand. It also means the people are buying more at every price. At every price, people are buying more. So that's change in demand, increase of demand, shift to the right, means at every price, people are buying more. Now, decrease of demand, you can see it means at every price, people are buying less. So they used to, at 5, they used to buy 10. Now the same price, the price didn't change, but now they are only buying nothing. Now at the price of 4 here, they used to buy, how much we used to buy? 20. Something happened. There's not a price. The price stayed the same, but people are now buying less. At the price of 3, people used to buy 30. Now they are buying less. The same price. Sorry. At the price of 2, they used to buy 50. Now they are buying 30. So you can see at every price, people are buying less. So decrease of demand means shift to the left. Also means at every price, people are buying less. Okay, so remember, when we talk about change in demand, we are moving either to the left or to the right, change in demand. And if we move it to the right, I'm going to summarize this in a new slide, so just you understand what I'm talking about. So first, so we have the graph like this, demand, price, change in quantity demanded caused by the price, change in the price. And I'm not going, when I change the price, I'm just going up and down of the demand curve. I'm not going to leave. That's called change in quantity demanded. Change in demand is moving the whole demand curve either to the right or to the left. If I move it to the left, that's increase. Right is increase. Left is decrease. What it means increase means that people are buying more at every price. For every price, people are buying more, increase. To the left, people are buying less at every price. That's decrease of demand. What causes this to change? The price. Changing the price causes the quantity demanded to change. Anything else but the price will cause the demand curve to shift either to the right or to the left. Okay, so you can look at this here. Increase, shift to the right from D0 to D2. Shift to the left, which is decrease of demand, which is to D1. Now, changes in price do not, remember this, this is a tricky question all the time. Change in price does not, the only one thing does not change the demand curve, means does not shift the demand curve, is changing the price of the product. If I change the price of a product, I'm not going to shift the demand curve. I'm just going to move along the demand curve. So very important point you have to remember. One thing does not shift the demand curve is the change in the price of a product. Everything else you can, not sure, but so look at this, the difference. So look at the movement from A to B versus movement A to C. So if I start at the point A, look, the price of 3, we have 10. If I move to B, the price is 2 and 20. But the movement from 10 to from A to C, the price stayed the same, but the quantity. So movement from A to B, the quantity went from 10 to 30. And the movement from A to C, the quantity went from 10 to 30. What is the difference from movement from A to B and movement A to C? We end up with the same quantity. The problem is movement from A to B, it's along the demand curve, going the same line, which is caused by change in price. The reason I moved from A to B, it's because the price went from 3 to 2. That's change in quantity demanded. But the reason I moved from A to C, from 10 to 30, the price didn't change, stayed the same. But the quantity went from 10 to 20. That's sorry, 20, not 30, 20. So what causes the movement from A to C? Anything but the price, because the price stayed the same. Something else happened that moved A to C. So one represents change in demand. Movement A to C is change in demand. Movement from A to B is change in quantity demand of the cereal. So now, what causes the demand to shift right to left? There's a lot of things you can causes you to move from left to the right, but we're going to talk about one at a time, because remember, we have to study one variable at a time. So you might have change in number of buyers, price of related goods, expectation, demographics, taste and preference, and consumers' income. All of this has nothing to do with the price of the product. What does that mean? All of them will shift the demand curve either to the right or to the left. The price does not shift the demand curve. These other factors or determinants shift the demand curve, all of them. That's you can add what is as much as you want. Sometimes one is not important, but all the time you will have all this variables are affecting your behavior. How much you pay for a product or how much you are willing to buy depends on all this stuff. Okay, we're going to look at each one separately so we can understand. We can see this is what ceteris paribus is very important. Now we're going to keep all these variables fixed, and we're going to change one of them. Then we'll see how this relates to demand. Then we will do the same things for related goods, expectation, demographics, and all this stuff. So you can see how that works. So related goods, if you have a good, there is a good has 3 relationships. So either you have a product that does the same things as A, we call them substitute. There is a product C that goes with A. You can have C with A without C. If you buy A, you have to buy C with it. That's called complement. Sometimes there are no relationship between a product, so there's no relationship. Milk and steel maybe has no relationship. You buy milk, the price of milk is not determined by steel, but in the surface at least. But this is very important. The related goods, we're talking about what is the relationship between this good I'm talking about and the price of good B. What is the relationship between demand for A and the price of C? So if it's substitute, means you can use one or the other. I can buy apple, or I can buy oranges. I can buy I can buy a Dell computer, or I can buy HP computer. I can buy a Honda or a GM, or I can buy a Ford. So they call them substitute product. I can rent or I can own a house. They are substitute. When products are doing the same things, we call them a substitute. So now, what happens if the price of B changes? How that will affect the demand for A? So the fact that they do the same things, if the price of B goes up, the demand for A goes up. Why? Because if the price of B goes up, people will switch to buy good A. If the price of B goes down, people will move from buying A to buy B. That's called a substitute. So what is the relationship? So if A and B are substitute, the price of one good and the demand for the other are positively related. They will move in the same direction. Means if the increases, will increase the demand. Okay, so let me give you examples so you can understand how that works in real life. I'll give you two examples. Always when you're trying to understand these issues, it's better to come up with the examples. So I'm talking about A and B's are substitutes. So I will have a cars, for example, that's substitute. I'm trying to understand the price of Ford, GM. Okay, so I have the demand for GM. Let's say GM is selling a car for 20,000 and they are selling 1 million car. Let's say Ford sells the same car, sedan, for the same price, 20,000, and they are selling 800,000 cars. The next day, I'm trying to understand the effect of the price of GM on Ford. So next day, let's say GM decided to sell their car at 50,000. What happens? The law of demand says when the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. Let's say now GM is selling all 500,000 cars. What happened to the difference? Assuming only have GM and Ford, the other 500,000, what they will do, they just go buy Ford for 20,000. So now we have 1.3 million people buying Ford. And then you go down, see? So the price of GM goes up, the demand for Ford goes up. Now, what is the opposite direction? Let's say GM decided to decrease their price to 10,000 and end up selling 1.5 million. Where this difference came? Where this the difference between 1 million and 1.5? This 500,000 people came from. It means they think that now it's worth buying GM because the price of GM went down. So Ford will lose some market share. So you can see I have a new demand curve, and they only selling 300,000 cars at the price of 20,000. We didn't change the price of Ford. We only played with the price of GM. So that's, we call it the substitute effect. You can talk about the same things. What happened to the price of houses when the rent is expensive? When the rent is very expensive, people will move to buy houses. When the price of houses are expensive, people will move to the rent. That's how people switch between two markets, and it's very interesting. So that's the very things that you have to remember here. If product A and B are substitute, means the price of one good and the demand for the other are substitute products. I mean, they have positive relationship. Means, let me just restate this again. I'm just going to erase all this stuff. So if A and B, for me, the way I can remember this, I always remember two examples that are clearly substitute. Either I will take Dell and HP, or I can take just two products that are substitute and trying to figure out how people will respond to change of one product versus the other. Take two products that are substitute. So you can look at the cars, you can look at the alcohol, beer versus wine, whiskey versus beer. You can look at a lot of things. Milk, you can have two companies that produce the same milk. Hood versus another company that produces milk. So you have two products that are substitute. So F, A, and B are substitute. Okay, if the price of A goes up, the demand for B goes up. If the price of A goes down, the demand for B goes down. So they have a positive relationship. So here is a question that is very important to ask. There is a degree of strength between A and B. Are really 100% substitute? So sometimes you find, like insurance. The insurance companies, for example, you will have the same policies, like a progressive insurance versus get-go, for example, insurance. They are substitute product 100%. Sometimes they are not 100% substitute. For example, you cannot say, for example, iPhone is 100% substitute for Nokia. There's other things, but they are substitute. They do the same things, but there are other things that are involved. So the degree, the strength of relationship between the two, it's very important also. It means it is really, yes, sometimes even if the price of iPhone goes a little bit up, we have very hard to change behavior of people that buy an iPhone or Nokia. But if it goes crazy up, that's depends on how much you spend on that product also in your budget. So we talked about substitute. Now we're going to talk about what's called complement products. A and B are complements, they go together. You cannot buy one without the other. You cannot buy a printer without buying ink. So what happened? So if the price of one product goes up, how that affect the other product. So let's say I'm going to give you some example here. So let's say I have the printer market. You will see companies use this strategy. Very important to understand this. So we have a printer here, printers market, quantity, and the price of a printer versus the quantity. Let's say the printer is $100 and the quantity is, let's say, 200,000. If I go to the ink market, the fact that you bought printer, you have to buy ink too. These people, they will buy ink too. Let me say, like, let's say $10 for a cartridge of ink. 200,000 people will have to buy. When you buy a printer, you keep in mind that you have to buy ink with it. So if I'm a company, so they go together. So if I increase the price of the printer to 150, less people will buy. Let's say 150,000 people will buy a printer. It means the same thing will happen to the ink market. Even if I don't change the price of ink, I only have 150,000 people buy ink from me. I can decrease the price to $50 for a printer, and I will sell more printers, let's say 1 million. Then I will sell more ink to people. That's what, sometimes you go to Micro Center or you go to Best Buy, you will see HP giving you sometimes half price off of the printer or just only $40. Why they do that? They know if you buy their printer, they will sell you the ink because they don't use other cartridges. They use their own ink. So this is a strategy that Gillette does. Gillette, they sell you, for example, they will give you the handler for free, but you have to buy the blades. Every time you buy the handler, every time you use the blades, and you come back. It's a very cheap way of building a relationship with the consumers and keep them stuck with you. They will give you something a little bit for free, but you will pay it back by coming back to buy the blades. All the time you go, like, man, you go buy blades. A lot of times they do that. So the one thing is also they do in Thanksgiving in US, Turkey, you go buy turkey, they might give you a free, like lower cost for turkey. They know. Why did they give you that? So normally a lot of people buy turkey on Thanksgiving, but they knew you will buy turkey. So big stores, they'll say, okay, we'll give you discount on this product because everybody wants. And when you get into the store, you're not going to buy only a turkey. You might end up buying a lot of stuff with it. So they will, they put the bait for you, say turkey, lower price, and then first you have to buy things that goes with the turkey. That's a compliment. But also when you get there, you might end up buying stuff you need for your store. So you get you in with a small price discount for chicken. So remember, so now if A and B are complement, if the price of A goes up, the demand for B goes down. If the price of A goes down, demand for B goes up. So it is a negative relationship between the demand and the price of the complement. So far you have a substitute and complement. Okay, car insurance. You cannot have a car without having car insurance. You cannot have, for example, lettuce without salad dressing. So it is most of the time what they do when you go to the store, you will find a product and they will put beside it something that they knew you will need to use it for this product. So you go tomatoes and lettuce, and then you might find blue cheese dressing or something like that close to it. So they know you will buy that. Jelly and so things that you use for breakfast, cereal, for example, cereal and milk. Sometimes you won't have that. So that's called a complementary product. Not only the price of the product affects your behavior, but also the price of things will go with it. It's like gas and the price of car. You cannot buy a car if the gas is expensive. You can see people how like they change their behavior when the price of gas goes up. They buy less cars. So and vice versa. Okay, income. Your income also has effect on how much you buy, but you have to be careful. Anytime I'm talking about the income, there are two types of goods. We call them normal goods, and we have inferior goods. Believe me, I will ask people this question and also think inferior goods means bad goods. No, it just know what is the relationship between the income and the demand for the good. So if the income goes up and the demand goes up, that's called normal goods. When people have more money, buy more stuff, that's called normal good. But if the income goes up and you buy less of it, that's called inferior good. I don't want you to think inferior good. I just strictly thinking about the relationship between the income and the demand for good. If it's positive relationship, we call it a normal good. If it's a negative, most of the goods are normal. Most of the things you buy, they go up with income. But there are a few things that goes in the opposite direction of income. One of them is like job counseling, or like the coach for like interviews and stuff like that, career services and stuff. The only time you use career services is when you don't have a job. When you lose your job, you can use them. That's inferior good. A lot of the time, like 18 at home versus 18 outside. So 18 people make income, their income goes up, they will go more to eat outside. And if their income goes down, they may stay at home. So fast food could be an inferior good, because people are going to fast food if they cannot go to like certain luxury restaurants because their income is going down. Okay, a lot of like a cobbler fixes shoes. Only fix shoes when you buy or you fix or buy your shoes. You fix your shoes if you lose your job. Otherwise, if you have income, you might buy new shoes instead of fixing them. Tailors, there's also that you go fix your t-shirts and stuff like that. So there are a few goods. I think public transportation also could be considered inferior good, because people take more buses and train when they feel like the income is going down. Okay, so anytime to be sure it's inferior good or normal good, you have to know first the relationship between the demand for good with income. It's not because how you look at it or what you think about it. No. So first tell me the relationship between the income and the demand for good. I will tell you if it's inferior or inferior good. So like every time you were talking about income, it's called income effect. I have to understand first, is it normal or inferior good? I'm not going to make many decisions without thinking about these relationships. Okay, so that's, so if I say, for example, the income of consumers goes up, so consumers' income goes up, how that will affect the, let's say, bread's market. Income goes up. First, I have to know if the bread is inferior or normal good before I will say what is the relationship. If it's a normal good, the income goes up, the demand for bread will goes up. But if it's inferior good, the income goes up, the demand goes down. You will have enough information to decide first, is it a normal or inferior good before you show. Normally the answers has to be in graphs. You have to show, for example, what happened to the price. I mean, the demand for a product, if the income going up, knowing that the good is inferior, for example. That's, now we say, oh, I have this information, I know it is inferior good, so there is a negative relationship. So inferior good, I'm just going to emphasize a lot this point. So the first things I will do when I'm doing analysis, I'm trying to figure out what happened to the demand for X good, the good X. I have the price, I have a quantity. So first, income goes up. Then I have to decide the second question, is it normal good or inferior good? If I go this way, I will say, okay, it's positive relationship, means income goes up, the demand goes up. Income goes down, the demand goes up. Down, sorry. If it's inferior good, now I say, okay, I have to go two ways. In the opposite direction, income goes up, the demand goes down, and income goes down, the demand goes up. So it's like a tree decision making. So I know what happens, the income changes. Now, if I know what is its normal or inferior, then I will go this way or this way. If I know it's normal, then I say what happened to the income. I will find out what happened to the demand. That's so. Let's say a normal goods income goes up. I have to shift the demand curve to the right. Now, if it's inferior good and income goes up, I have to shift the demand. You cannot have the same good is inferior and normal at the same time. It's one or the other. They are mutually exclusive. You cannot have a good that is normal and inferior. No, it's one thing. If it's normal, I'm going to base my analysis based on normal. If it's inferior, I may base my analysis on inferior good. Expectation, it is easy to understand this. So expectation could be about your income or the price. So I'm talking about expectation. So if, for example, price is easy. I'm trying to buy a product. I can ask myself, what if I know the price of that product will go? I'm trying to buy today. I'm just one person, for example, one. Let's say two. I'm going to buy two. and the price of 300. But I know next week the price will go down. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to buy. So the demand goes down. So if the expectation for the price is going down, I am going to buy less today. The demand goes down. But if I know the price goes up, I will have to buy. If I know the price of a computer today is 300, I want to buy it. But if I wait until next week, the price will go 6. I will rush. Even if I'm not trying to buy it, if I'm planning to buy it in 1 week, I will, because the price will go up, I will buy it today. So that's, so for example, in the companies, they will not tell you, for example, the discount ahead of time. They want to tell you, they want to buy you today. If they let you know that you want to buy, only the price go down next week, you might not buy. They will not tell you that. They will tell you, we'll give you discount today if you buy today. They won't try to push you to buy today. That's why. But they might say, okay, if you wait till next week, the price might change, it will go up. Trying to give you some expectation, affect your expectations for the future. Income is the same thing. I may buy stuff even if I don't have money, if I know my income will go up in the future. So the demand for stuff will go up. And if I know I'm going to lose my job, I might stop buying stuff because my expectation for income will go down. So your income expectation, how do you expect your income will behave the next year or next month, will affect your consumption behavior. So it's very important. Number of buyers, that's easy to understand. So I'm going to start demand like this for Boston, for example. Boston, this is the price for Boston. This is the quantity. But what happens if I add New York? So now you see the demand will shift to the right. Increase of buyers will shift the demand to the right. That's called market expansion, expanding my market from one market to another. So I'm selling my product only in Boston. If I go to New York, I am increasing my demand. So I have to start from Boston. Now I have a new for Boston plus New York City. I increased my market share. So they call it market expansion. I expand. I can, for example, sometimes companies sells the product only in US, and then they will expand to sell in Mexico, Canada, or in other countries. Okay, so that's increase. But sometimes you are selling your product in Europe and US, and then it does not make sense for you to sell in Europe. You shrink, or you like downsize your company. You cut, so you decrease number of buyers. It means you have to shift the demand curve to the left. So the increased number of buyers, you shift the demand curve to the right. Decreased number of buyers, you shift to the left. Preference. So sometimes people like trying to influence your preference. You will say, for example, you're drinking wine or beer, and then somebody will just show advertising for like famous person you like that drinks, only says, oh, wine is best than beer and stuff, trying to influence your preference. Or you just say, okay, drinking a glass of wine every night will make you happier. That's your preference. Okay, they're trying to affect how you make your decision making. So the fashion is a good example. They will shift your preference for shoes and stuff like that by using influencers. Like a lot of them now in YouTube, and like take a star, for example, like you like soccer player or basketball player, and they will do advertising to influence your preference. So this is the summary for demand curve. You can see, remember, the one thing I can tell you here, I'm just going to make sure that you can see all this stuff. Slideshow from current slide. Okay. So you can see here, we're going to make it bigger so it's clear. First, the demand curve is the whole thing. That's D0. Movement from this point upward or downward is called change in quantity demanded. So if the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. If the price goes down, the quantity demanded increases. But remember, moving along the demand curve. The movement along the demand curve is caused by change in the price. Every time I move along, I know for sure that's how people respond to change in price. That's the law of demand. If I change anything else besides the change in the price, moving to the left is shift to the left, which is decrease of demand, means people are buying less at every price. You can see what happened to the quantity people buy at every price, decreases. Increases when we move to the right, which is people are buying more at every price. So when you move everything from blue to the red, or from blue to the red, to the left or to the right, that's change in demand. It's caused by something else other than the price. Okay, one thing that does not shift the demand curve is changing the price of the product, because changing the price of the product will go up and down. Other variables can shift the demand curve to the left. Right is increase of demand, to the left is decrease of demand. We're talking about what things could shift the demand curve to its substitute effect. Means there is positive relationship between the product A and B. The price of A and demand for B are positive if they are substitute, and they are negative if they are complement. We talked about income, normal good versus inferior goods. We talk about your preference, number of buyers. That's all this stuff. So if you think that way, ask yourself, how does, if I'm not changing the price, so ice cream, for example, I'm just like, how the weather will affect my buying behavior for ice cream? Why people close the stores, ice cream stores in winter, for example? Because less people buy ice cream in winter because of the weather. And people buy more umbrellas in winter. So you can think about logically how that affect your behavior, and you can imply this for other people. Okay, so next class we're going to talk about supply. Now we talked about the buying side behavior. Now we can talk about selling side behavior, how people that sell the product or goods and services, how they behave when they are selling the product. What is the law of supply? What is supply? What is quantity supplied? But we're going to go through the same process. But so I'm going to stop right here. I don't want to start this stuff and then I will not be able to finish it. But next class we're going to pick up from here, supply side. And if you have any questions, please. So don't worry about the quiz today and tomorrow. You will have time to do it over the weekend for quiz number 1. I have to set it up again one more time, and it will be the same questions you did before, but you will have timing scheduled like 2 hours. The same things. 2 hours will be enough to do it because you already tried it once. And I will put the answers today before I will set up the quiz. I will put the answers for chapter 2. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know before I stop the meeting.